All right, welcome to your very first step on the JavaScript roadmap. So you've learned how to structure pages with HTML and how to make them look great with CSS. But now it's time to make them come alive. Let's dive in.
So far, you've probably gotten pretty good at building the skeleton of a web page with HTML and then, dressing it up with CSS. You can create these beautiful static sites that display information really well.
But what's the next step? How do you make your pages actually do things? How do you make them react when a user clicks a button or fills out a form or really does anything at all? That's the big missing piece of the puzzle, right? Well, the answer to that question is JavaScript. It's the third and final pillar of modern web development. It's the magic that really brings your static pages to life. Think of it like this. If HTML is the skeleton, it gives the web page its structure, and CSS is the skin and the clothes that give it style, then JavaScript is the brain, the nervous system, the muscles. It's what creates behavior and allows for actual interaction. So what is it, really? The official definition sounds a bit technical, right? A high-level, interpreted programming language. All that really means is that it's a powerful language that's easy for us humans to read, and it runs directly in your web browser without any complicated setup. It's the engine that lets a web page respond to what you do, update content on the fly, and create all those cool, complex features we expect online. But JavaScript didn't just appear out of nowhere, perfectly formed. Its creation story is one of the most fascinating and, honestly, one of the most rushed in all of tech. It's a story born out of intense competition and some serious pressure. Okay, you gotta picture it. It's the mid-90s and the browser wars are in full swing. Netscape is the king of the hill, but Microsoft is coming for the crown, and fast. Netscape realized they needed a simple glue language to make websites more dynamic, something way more approachable than Java. So they hired a programmer named Brendan Eich to build it. And the pressure he was under was just immense. He was told he had to deliver a working prototype in just 10 days. Not 10 weeks, 10 days. And he actually did it. He cranked out the entire first version of the language in a little over a week. It was an incredible feat of engineering that would literally shape the future of the entire internet. The naming history is a story all by itself. It started out as Mocha. Then it was called LiveScript. And finally, in what was purely a marketing move to ride the wave of Java's popularity, they renamed it JavaScript, even though the two languages have almost nothing to do with each other. Eventually, it was standardized as ECMAScript, which is the official name you'll still see floating around today. Now, that standardization was a huge deal. It took this rushed prototype and turned it into a global standard, which meant that JavaScript code could work the same way across all the different browsers. But the road from that point was, well, it got a little bumpy. After a few quick updates early on, progress just screeched to a halt. For almost 10 years after 1999, the official standard didn't change at all. There were all these political disagreements among the big tech companies on the standards committee about where the language should go next. It led to a total stalemate. The next major version, ES4, was so controversial it was eventually abandoned completely. And then, finally, after years of stagnation, everything changed in 2015. ECMAScript 2015, which everybody just calls ES6, was released. This wasn't just an update. It was the single biggest evolution in the language's entire history. It completely modernized JavaScript and gave developers a whole new set of superpowers. So what does that mean in practice? Well, look at how we declare variables. Before ES6, all we had was var, which had some, let's just say, quirky behaviors. ES6 introduced let and const, which gave us much safer, more predictable, and more intuitive ways to manage data in our code. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. ES6 brought us a flood of incredible new features, things like arrow functions for writing cleaner, shorter code, classes for organizing our code better, and promises for handling complex asynchronous stuff without losing our minds. This one update is what truly created the modern JavaScript that we all use today. Okay, so that's the history lesson. Pretty wild, right? But how do you actually run the stuff? Well, this is the beautiful thing about JavaScript. It is so incredibly accessible. You don't need to install anything to get started. No, seriously. Every single modern web browser, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Edge, you name it, has a built-in JavaScript engine and a developer console. You can pop it open right now, type some JavaScript code, hit enter, and watch it run instantly. It's the perfect playground for learning and experimenting. So beyond the console, where you'll do most of your work, is inside a script tag, right in your HTML files. But its power isn't just limited to the browser anymore. Thanks to tools like Node.js, you can now run the exact same JavaScript code on a server to build entire backend applications. So that brings us to the big question. Why should you be learning this language right now? Because what started as a tiny 10-day prototype for a single web browser has, well, it's pretty much taken over the world of software development. There's this famous quote from Jeff Atwood, the co-founder of Stack Overflow. It's known as Atwood's Law. A decade ago, it sounded like a really bold, maybe even crazy prediction. Today, it's basically just a description of reality. And he wasn't wrong. I mean, look at where it is today. It's not just for web pages. It powers servers, it builds native mobile apps, it controls smart devices, it's even being used in machine learning. It has become one of the most versatile and universal programming languages on the entire planet. And here's the bottom line. If you want to build modern web applications, knowing JavaScript is absolutely non-negotiable. It is the fundamental building block for all the most popular frameworks out there today. React, Angular, Vue, you name it. You simply cannot use them effectively without having a solid foundation in JavaScript first. So that's the story of JavaScript, what it is, where it came from, and why it's so incredibly important. Now that you have the context, we're ready to actually start writing some code. In our next explainer, we're going to dive into the absolute fundamentals, variables, and scope. You get the why. Now it's time to learn the how. Are you ready to take that next step and start mastering the building blocks of the web's most important language? This is Developer Roadmaps. Map your path. Build your career.